All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us on the second episode of In the Corners with Matt Good and Reese Savoy. We are the UVic hockey broadcast team, and we're here to bring you a weekly roundup of all things Vikes hockey, along with the other happenings that are going down in the BCIHL. Matt, how are you doing today?
Hey, Reese. Good to be here with you. Doing good. Looking forward to another episode of In the Corners. Let's get to it. Let's get in the corners and forecheck
Yes.
and do some hard work.
Yes, which is what the Vikes did over the last weekend. So they faced off against the Mariners for the last two games of their exhibition. We mentioned last week that the Vikes were only going to be playing the Mariners for all four of their exhibition games. So they got two games at home and two games away. Last Friday, they were at the Ian H. Stewart complex at the final homestead of the exhibition season, where the Vikes took an unexpected loss. I thought by the momentum of the first two periods that it wasn't going to turn out this way, but it was a 6-4 loss for the Vikes. It was a high paced game. We got lots of information on that. We can break it down because we were the broadcast team for that one. But when it comes to the Saturday game, we will have a little bit less information, but we could still break it down for you. This week we were hoping to have a couple guests, but unfortunately a couple things came up and it was a little hard to get them for the timing. But next week we're going to push for some guests, whether it be just some spectators, a couple members of the volunteer team, or hopefully assistant coach Cole Pickup and maybe some players. But I'm going to let Matt take the reins on some of the details for that Friday game because he was pretty excited to break down what he saw before his very eyes. So go ahead, Matt.
Well, Reese, just like the Vikes, we're here for the long haul. Exhibition games. We're sticking with it. It's a long season. We're going to have lots of drama ahead for us. I thought the game Friday night in Victoria was pretty evenly matched all around. Shots 39-36 in favor of the Mariners. Kind of goals going back and forth throughout the three periods. 1-0 for the Mariners after the first period.
Yep.
Vikes take the lead in the second period. Dustin to go. He jumps up into the play throughout this game. He was flying around on Friday night. I thought the defenseman for the Vikes, DeGo was the leader of that. Benger rung one off the bar there too.
Yeah.
That kind of stood out. Dr. Strange, he scores in the second period. It was 2-1 for the Vikes. Power plays again for the Vikes. They can score power play goals, these guys, the Vikes. Yeah. We've seen that. Like when that goes in their favor, they ring them up good. So after two, it was even. And then, again, the scoring goes back and forth. Towards the end of the game, Mariners, Dunlop and Palmer. Palmer scores an empty netter. Dunlop gets the go-ahead goal. A shorthanded goal by the Rouser.
Yep.
Right.
Quick.
We're seeing a lot of these guys is one of my points
that
I want to talk about. But overall, some frantic play, some speed. Nets were flying off all over the place. Pucks were going into the ceiling and never coming down. We had a big party going on in the broadcast booth there.
Oh yeah.
It was a wild and fun night for our second broadcast of the year.
Yes.
Reese, now what did you see in the game down there?
Well, yeah, one of the biggest things that kind of bugged me and I guess kept me a little bit uneasy there the entire game was the disallowed goals. Like we saw a lot of the net coming off, and I don't know if that was just the players not knowing where to go or if that was just the net is getting old and the bearings or whatever's. I don't know. But all I have to say is that was frustrating. There was, I think, either 2 or even 3 goals for one for the Vikes, one for the Mariners for sure, but there might even have been another one in there that were disallowed just because of the net coming off. And I think at least for the Vikes goal was a good setup. It was a power play, or it might have been just coming off a power play. We were in their end and they were piling it on. And yeah, you get rewarded with a whistle saying it's no goal. That was off that. And then, I think the period after that, the Mariners come down and they score that really nice kind of fake wraparound goal thing that they had going down, gets called off. So that was kind of annoying. It was annoying to watch as a spectator because you're getting the play blown dead like a football game. But other than that, it was a good high paced game. I thought it was very busy. Like when it comes to the play-by-play for the first game that we had, which was the week before against the Mariners, and it was a little bit easier to follow the play. The puck would move. I could follow the pass. I could say this happened. Puck goes over here. Oh, but this game, it was not that there was inconsistent possession play, but it was just fast and it was a lot of action. And because of that, it was hard to keep up sometimes. Like I was losing track of where I was. And I feel like that's just a symbol for what type of rivalry this team is going to have, right? Like these guys are going to come flying out, right? Well, because we had the first game where the Vikes took the win, and then they lose in Nanaimo by a pretty decent margin, and then they come around to Friday where it's like pretty evenly matched for the first two periods. I thought the Mariners had the first period, and then the Vikes had the second period. And then the third period was a little bit of a toss-up, but obviously the Mariners won that period. But a lot of the penalties, a lot of the nets coming up, like the puck going up, all these little things I felt like added to a frustrated Vikes group who felt that they weren't getting rewarded for their good play. And for another example, like Drapeau had a good game. I thought he faced a lot of shots, and there's still many goals I'm sure he would have wanted back. And my point is they weren't rewarded for their good play as much as they probably would have wanted to be. Of course, every team, if they're going to play well, they're going to expect some sort of result. But, they had a good 60 minutes. I thought it was fine. It was just, on the goal scoring front, there was a couple issues. But, I mean, hey, if you leave those called off goals, it's either tied into overtime or, it's a different game, right? So, I don't know. I definitely think it's almost seeming like they tried to manufacture this rivalry to be worse than it could have been, because they were like, listen, we're going to throw you guys right at each other 4 times, 2 weeks straight. So it's kind of like a playoff feel. So we'll see if that, introduces them into that, come the spring, maybe they will meet in the playoffs, and what we just saw now will be a precursor for what happens then.
Well, these guys are going to know everybody's numbers and address and email address. They're going to know everything about one another.
Yeah.
Drapeau, I agree. Had some good saves. The thing about the Mariners is they score a lot off the rush. They come down, the Razor comes down, and he does a spin move, and he's knocking the goal of the net, of the mooring, and they're coming down fast and in bursts, right? So I thought that the Vikes did an okay job handling them. That's what I want to talk with you, Reese, about, was to give a little credit to the Mariners' big four they have up front.
Yes.
And they all got such sweet hockey names. Dunlop, the Tires, Palmer, the Plumber, Razor, and Cherwalk. These guys, when you look at the score sheet here, there isn't a goal that one of these guys is not in on the score sheet. So it's and I was talking to it was Arbuckle after the game. He sat the game on Friday.
Right.
And I was like, what are you going to do to match up against the big players from the Mariners? And he is just kind of like, we got to play big too. I mean, he's a big guy too.
Yep.
But that'll be one thing all season long. And we talked on the broadcast, I was saying this, is like, those guys are going to get their scoring chances. And then the Vikes, when they get their scoring chances too, it'll be their time to shine. Kind of what you're saying of like, when they held the balance of the play, the Vikes are whipping it around and getting goals too. And the goals are starting to come for them too, is another thing.
They're finding ease in scoring as the days go by. I mean, the score line of the Saturday game previous to this one. So can't remember what date that would have been, but it was the second exhibition game that they met in Nanaimo. And the score line didn't display that they found ease in scoring, but I think their lines are clicking a lot more. There's a lot of guys that were high octane offensive guys for the first 2 exhibition games that they took out of the lineup to let some of the vets play for this past Friday game. And I think they've just found a little bit of their stride when it comes to 5-on-5 play and being in their zone. And like you were mentioning earlier, that breakout for the Mariners was dominating the Vikes. And I feel like the only reason why I can say the word dominating is because an issue that I kept seeing for the Vikes was when they were either on a power play or they just were controlling the puck in the O-zone, they were giving the puck away. So whether it had been at the blue line, and just to make another callback that I mentioned on the last podcast, Dustin DeGo, although he had a really good game, the first exhibition game that we saw from him, there was a moment where there was a Vike right at the opposing team's O-zone. He might have been a winger. I can't remember. He was sitting at the blue line, and then Dego went to pinch right beside him to try to keep the puck into the zone. And what that did is you had two Vikes right beside each other. They missed the puck, and now there's a 2-on-1 coming down the other way. And that kept happening this game. There was many scenarios where the speed of Dunlop or the speed of Rouser just beat them, right? Because if you're going to be making risky plays by the blue line, you obviously run the risk of a breakaway, but it honestly didn't feel like that. It felt like once that puck got moved back to the point, the Mariners crowded the puck, and if there was one little mistake made by him, it was a breakaway coming the other way. And I think if I'm not mistaken, I think 2 or 3 of the Mariners goals were breakaways, or at least came from a breakaway. So that's one thing that the Vikes really have to watch out for. Like, they were stepping a little bit over the line too much and just choking the D up. And, again, it's exhibition, so you're allowed to take those risks. You're allowed to, which on the positive side of the same coin, like you said earlier, the D-men for the Vikes were stepping up. They were coming in offensively, moving the puck good. And I felt like that was something that the Mariners kind of didn't have an answer for. Like, once they got that cycle going and the puck was moving, Mary drop it off for so-and-so, moving it. And it's like, it looked like a power play, whether it was 5-on-5 or a power play. And that was doing good. That's where they got a lot of their goals from. I mean, there was one goal that came off of it that was, eventually disallowed due to the net being off. So that's a good positive you can take out from them. They got D-men who can move the puck and skate good, but you got to make sure your positioning, because the Mariners just come down, and that is it's a high intensity chance. So
kind of fun to compare some of the defensemen on these teams now. That you and I have seen them twice. Strauss and Morton, right, from the Mariners. They seem to lead from the back end. And then that Strauss, he's on a lot of offensive plays, kind of like Dego is for the Vikes. Yeah. And then, I am really going to stick by this point of the depth of both defense on forward for the Vikes. Yeah. The Mariners, they're loaded in a way. They're loaded with in a couple ways, right? But I think that you look through the offensive skill that comes from that back end. That'll be interesting to see throughout the season when the Vikes attack from the back end and try not to get burned, just like what you're saying. Yes. Try not to get burned so much. That'll be fun to watch out to see how the coaches want to tell these guys to how they can handle these Mariners out there.
Right. Yeah. I mean, they're two speedy teams. And like you were going to mention earlier too, the Wreath line and the Strange line, like both of those were coming out flying, coming out with good pace, skating. And I think that's something very comparable. I would give the edge a little bit to the Vikes because I feel like their D-men can move the puck a little better, but they're both speedy teams. They're both teams that can fly up the ice. The two-way capabilities for their forwards are displayed best in their veterans as well. I thought Dunlop was a little bit of an all-around player. He gave me some McKinnon vibes. He's fast, good on the stick, strong, fights, plays big. And like Arbuckle was mentioning, this is a team that came from last year's identity, if I'm not mistaken, and I could be completely wrong about this. I felt their identity last year was the rough and tough team. We're going to be big. They had Garrett Murray at D, who was just this big.
That was the Mariners. I mean, the Mariners were rough.
Yeah. And they still have Dunlop, and they still have these other guys who are big. Morton. And
apparently these guys can chirp. Apparently they can really chirp and mix it up.
Yeah. And that's what they say. And that's what Arbuckle said too, right? Like, he's like, you can't buy into their chirping, because when you buy in, they got you, because they're still a talented hockey team. They're not a team that's just talentless and they're looking to stay physical to compensate for their lack of talent, but rather they use it to their advantage. And even when and that was another thing, when we were watching the Vikes get a good lead in that first game we broadcasted, the first exhibition game, you could hear the hitting and the fighting and the cheep and the chirping and the ref and that, right? So that all, boils over for the Mariners, and it's all about the Vikes staying away from that. Cause I felt like we got a warning of that in the first exhibition game. And then when we come back for the third one back at home last Friday, the Vikes kind of bought into it by the third period in a way that, not that they were getting rough and tough and making a lot of mistakes and getting into big brawls, but rather they were buying into the Mariners style of play, which is exactly what I just kind of described. So if you're going to buy into that style of play, they're going to beat you because they're still talented hockey players that can move the puck around your team, and they're tough. So they can pick you off, right? And get you off your game. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens in the regular season for these two.
These teams are having fun there. Like you're saying, the refs, they're yelling, they're hollering, the teams they lean over the bench and slam the boards with the stick. I mean, the college players are fired up for their buddies. I noticed Pickett had a block shot. Oh, the players love that. The teammates love that. They go crazy.
That was a great block shot too.
So the teams are having fun. Like they're chirping, they're scrapping, they're taking penalties, they're pushing each other around, they're flying around each other, and it looks like they're having a good time.
Yeah.
Arbuckle, by the way, if you ever need a buddy, if you're ever looking for a buddy to help you if you lock your keys in your truck, that's the guy you want to have on your team.
Oh yeah, a little situation outside in the intermission.
Yeah, just situational playmaking by Arbuckle and good checking, staying on the back check, clearing the puck around the boards. Night and day.
To look at this team because we saw Gattenby for the first time too, me and you. So he's a stud. He's got great talent. He didn't have the best showing out, like in terms of offensive output. Like he wasn't out there putting up Erik Karlsson points. But my point is all the areas of the game I felt he did well. He can skate really good. He's got a strong stick. He can make great passes, and he can shoot too. There was a couple looks that I saw he could have been either making a good pass to a one-timer or taking the one-timer himself. Speaking of one-timer, you mentioned it earlier, Alex Bender with that shot off the post. Again, that's a game-changing moment that didn't come to fruition for the Vikes, but he comes in on that right side, right at the top of the right circle, is exactly where you want it as a D-man, just clap and goes right off the post there. But I'm with you on Gattenby. He goes down there. He goes down to the net. He goes down behind the net. He's not afraid of that. I do think in that second period in the Friday night game, when the Vikes start humming, it's really something to see because entertaining.
I start to lose track of who is who. They're playing the puck around like Reith he's entering the zone, like doing spins. He had a one-timer. Like they can really turn on a dime their skill. They kind of hang in the weeds a little bit, and if they get an inch, the Vikes they can throw it around and make the other team pretty dizzy. So I'm excited to see that through the season. Can they get that confidence going?
Yes.
Yes.
Can they keep it? Well, that's the biggest thing, and that's what I was going to lead me into my next point here was. No disrespect to the team last year, but it's that effort level and the pace of play and the puck move. It's, in my opinion, night and day from last year. And I don't think that has anything to do with the players, but I think that has just something to do with the relationship that they had and the situations they were going through, injuries and the coaching issue. Not coaching issues. I don't think there's any issues, but I mean, just the situation with coach. Every single, intangible was a little bit different. And I feel like this year they've done a good job of keeping that off ice issues down to something they can control. Obviously the optimism's high right now because it's just the exhibition, but I have pretty high hopes. I have pretty big high hopes for this team, which is actually why I just want to warn everybody. Me and Matt are going to give our predictions for the standings at the end of this episode, because this is the last week of exhibition. So the regular season starts this Friday. So we're going to have to give some predictions before the season starts before we get a little bit of bias, but
you got it, pal. I'll get it. I'll put my prediction in the oven right now. Perfect. And I'll just start stirring it and I'll get it cooked up and ready. So before we move on, I want to say there's a few kind of like underrated players for me so far. I really want to watch Doctor Strange, number 8, and Nolan. Connor
Nolan, great right-handed left winger.
Yeah, these two pair up on the penalty kill quite a bit in that home game we saw, and they played with Noah Kelly. Connor Nolan, Noah Kelly, kind of a cool little it's
a lot of first names.
Onomatopoeia.
Yeah,
there's some kind of line name going on there that's possible. Really nice player, Ryan Strange, and kind of unsung. He just kind of hangs around, and then boom, you look down and he's in there. He's on the place because we all know the veterans here.
Yes.
Hermery, Eddie, Pickett, Withy, Reith, the leaders,
Yes.
So maybe it's strange as a candidate, someone to come up who's going to be a sniper a little bit, because
Yeah. I think we can expect that from Braun and Spears that we got to see in the first. I think those two freshmen are going to be rounding out their offensive game. If they can round it up early, this will be a very scary Vikes team because you got two kids who are very capable of scoring. And then with the addition of all the veterans who are clearly capable of doing it and they know this league really well. So I think that'll be a pretty deadly combination to look forward to. Obviously the D, I mean, there's a lot of question marks with the D line right now. Like if you were to take a look at the roster for the first exhibition game and then the roster for now, that D partnership, like there's so many positives within the D partnerships that we're seeing that it's going to be interesting to see who unfortunately doesn't get the call, like who's going to have to watch and wait to be the seventh D man. Cause the competition's high for D, I think. And I think the depth, which was like literally I'd say the topic of the entire episode last time, which was depth. I think that's going to show way more in the regular season. I mean, I think this is the entire intention of having 4 exhibition games in general is just to see how deep the team truly is. And they mentioned last year at the end of the season that there was a lot of players coming to the UVic hockey this year. And now I see exactly what they mean. Right. So,
yeah, well, some players establishing themselves as puck movers, moving the puck forward. Some are more got that size, got that kind of stability on the back end. We saw with Benger and Arbuckle, and then Von Schonberg. Some of these more, let's bring the puck up. So we'll just see what the coaches, how they want to play it. How they want to start their lineup against whoever they're facing in this BCIHL showdown.
Yes. So the last exhibition game for the Vikes resulted in a 4-2 loss against the Mariners. Like we mentioned earlier, the fella that we were going to have to kind of go through the game is not here. And because it's exhibition, us broadcasting, we don't get the big breakdown from the other players because, again, it's exhibition, it's up in the air. But if there's any games that we do miss due to it being an away game, because obviously we only do the home games, we will have a much more in-depth breakdown plus a couple special guests to give you their personal insight, which will, add to it for sure. But yeah, we lost. The Vikes lost 4-2. I'm not sure who went on the score sheet. Do you have any information on that from the Instagram or anything? Or
yeah, I'll give you a quick rundown. Okay. Connor Nolan scored. Withy gets a couple helpers, couple assists, hamburger helpers. I don't know what they call them out here in Saskatchewan. It's a helping. You help out.
They call them apples here.
An apple.
Yeah, I got a couple apples. You got two assists.
I dig it. I like an apple. 2 apples for Finn. Withy. Yeah, Nolan scores. Voss, he's on the score sheet. Those are the 2 goals from the Vikes. And then again, you have Tires, Dunlop, and a couple goals there. The Plumber, Razor, all these guys are in there. Morton.
Wow. Again.
Morton has a big game, I guess.
Yep.
What are you going to say? I mean, on the website BCIHL, you can get the box scores too. There's so many penalties in this game. We weren't there. Obviously, there's like 29 or 31 penalties or something in this game.
Holy!
There's like there's
killing each other.
Well, they're tripping, they're holding, they're slashing, they're interfering. There's a couple couple scraps too. So the Mariners start Fournier in that game. It looks like he only played the first period though. Crawl came in. So that's kind of interesting we never saw that. We
didn't see that.
Yeah. Goalie substitution. So hopefully he's all right, not injured. Mm-hmm. And then Pilon played 35 shots against. So, that just penalty, it looks like it was kind of like a sludgy game over there.
Yeah. If there's shit show, as some would say.
If there's penalties 20 through the whole game, maybe they just burned that one. I'm not sure what the lessons are from that. There is a battle for the goal though in the Vikes. Will they take Pilon, or will they do a mix? Will they mix in the other players?
Yeah,
it's a big question to see what they do.
Yeah, will it be a 1A, 1B tandem? Will it be a starter backup? Will it be just a 3-way battle? I mean, we liked what we saw from Kirsten. We've only seen the one game from him. He started at home, and then the next game I think was Pilon back in Nanaimo, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah,
he got the away games.
Yes, yeah. Pilon got a hold onto and I think that's due to his experience, I'm assuming. But yeah, Kirsten I thought was I thought he's actually one of the bigger highlights UVic has to look forward to for the season. I don't know how he is doing in practice, but I would say that his performance in that first exhibition game is enough to get the start for the first game for me. Again, there's training, there's lots of things, there's lots.
It was a big game, man.
It was a big game. I thought memorable game. Great. Yeah, he was great. He was fast. He was calm. Obviously, I couldn't shut up about saying calm. He was like Carey Price, no reaction, no big rebounds. And, I thought that was great. And he's a freshman, right? So he's brand new. And we met him. We got to talk to him. And I told him that he had a great game. And he's actually he's a guy who definitely potentially could be a guest on the show. So that'll be good.
Big knitter, Kirsten. Big knitter and piano player. Yep. Just kind of eclectic goalie mind, goalies. That's the thing with goalies, man. No one understands them. Coach Dillon was a goalie. Maybe he will understand them. Yeah. Maybe they'll do a 3-headed monster, give everyone a little run because we've seen Drapeau, Pilon, and Kirsten. Pilon gets 2 starts out of the 4. I don't know how much you want to read into that. Like you said, the away games, the returning experience. Yeah, it's going to be a mix-up, and we'll see who gets the net and has the hot hand, the glove hand.
Yeah, the glove hand. That'll be an interesting thing. But to jump a little bit around the league real quick, the SFU Red Leafs played the University of Alaska Anchorage on September 23rd. They took a W 1-0. And fun fact, this is actually the first time a BCIHL team has beat a NCAA Division I team.
All right on.
So that's really impressive. And honestly, I did want to talk a little bit about that. So I feel like the year that we chose to join the BCIHL and the events surrounding it, and I'm not saying like we're a part of the company, we're not, don't come at us. But the point is now that we're reviewing it and discussing it and following it, I think we're going to see a lot more of this type of stuff. Now, obviously expecting BCIHL teams to beat a Div 1 team, I would have never placed that expectation on them, but they come out with a 1-0 win, which should scare you, rest of the teams in the BCIHL. That's pretty scary. But something else happened the day after. They actually fly into Fairbanks. I don't know if that's a different. Don't ask me.
That's a different town. That's a different town.
Okay, yeah. It's the University of Alaska Fairbanks. They lost 6-0. SFU. So they went
more one-sided.
Yeah, right. They went from beating kind of creating a record. Well, I mean, yeah, I guess they beat a record. They created a record, whatever you can say about that, and they also took a beating the next day. So I guess it was a trade-off. It was a record for a blowout. But I mean, again, we weren't there at those games, so we don't really know exactly what happened.
Can't wait to see you guys. SFU, bring it. I can't wait to see them.
Yeah, they are going to bring it. That is an interesting team. I mean, they dominated last year.
What are they like?
Well, from what I saw, the couple of games that I watched them, they were just kind of an all-around hockey team. They just seemed to have depth.
Set hockey players.
Up the hoop. Yeah. Just depth, down, up, sideways, all of it. So
that's going to be great.
Props to them. Props to SFU for bringing that, I guess you could say, I don't want to say legend, but I guess it could be a legend, the legend of the day that SFU beat the NCAA team. You never know. But I'm glad awesome. they brought that. They brought that to the league. That's something huge. And obviously, whether you're an Okanagan Laker, whether you're a Vike, you got to be proud of them. You got to be happy. Those are your fellow, what's the word for that? Your I don't know, but your battle partners, the people that you.
These are your battle partners. All right.
Yeah, sure.
League mates. Well, these guys they're going to get to know each other, right? So they got a speed dial.
They're going to have to. So, that I don't know. That's definitely a highlight for.
That's cool, man.
For the league. So
nice. Way to go, SFU.
Way to go, SFU. But yeah, next on the agenda is the big exciting statement for me to finally be able to say this is the week of the BCIHL regular season. So this Friday, the Okanagan Lakers meet up with VIU in Kelowna. So that'll be a home game for the Okanagan. And that'll be this Friday. So you guys can definitely tune into that one on Hockey TV. And then on the Saturday, VIU comes again, 2 games in a row for VIU. So that'll be a hefty weekend for the Mariners. They'll be facing off against the Red Leafs, and that'll be a home game for SFU. So SFU's home opener is this Saturday. That'll be October 1st. Very interesting matchup. Again, we don't know anything about these teams. The only team I can break down for you is that one. I can break because we've seen them 4 times. Well, twice, and then heard about them 4 times. But so we'll see how that turns out for the Mariners. I'm surprised they stacked up 2 games. Some pretty good competition for the Mariners.
They're hitting the road, these Mariners. They're going to play in Burnaby, which is near Vancouver.
Yes.
It's going to be good.
Yeah. It's true.
Well, I'm going to check the box score for sure. I'm going to tune into Hockey TV. I'm going to be seeing how the Razors doing. I'm going to be checking in on who's in net for the Mariners.
Yeah, that'll be big.
See who's playing for SFU. Just do a little bit of around the league detective work.
Yes, for sure. And I
get in the corners.
Exactly. Well, I mean, that's what we do here. But SFU will be the most important, I guess you could say, scouting report that we'll need, because they're going to be the team to beat. They were the team to beat last year, and I'm pretty sure they were the team to beat the year before that. So this is a team that is not looking to improve. I mean, of course they want to improve, but that's not their goal. I think their goal is more to stay where they are, defend the championship, defend their league title. And it's going to be kind of up to literally every other team,
right,
to figure that out. Yeah.
Who's gonna jump up and bite these guys at least once? You know,
that's the question.
Could it be the Vikes this season?
I hope, and I think so. But here's the thing: we haven't seen the Logan Lake Miners, we haven't seen Okanagan, we haven't seen SFU, so we don't know who we're facing up against, which adds to the excitement. It's a little bit of an unknown, a little bit of a question mark, but yeah, I don't know. Who do you think it'll be? Who do you think? Actually, should we even just get it? I mean, the agenda has been through. Let's get into the predictions. You have left yours cooking in the oven. What do you think? What is your early prediction?
I like the Vikes to be over 500 this year. That's my prediction.
Oh, okay.
So last year, you know what? I did not expect you to ask me this. Last year, the Vikes, it takes them a bunch of games to win their first game. Then they go 4-6 down the stretch. I know that from getting to know these guys, this team. So they stack up a big cupboard full of losses, working their way through the season, and then they start their winning ways.
Yeah, I
think that will continue. I think they're going to hang tight, hang tough with the Mariners, and we're going to see what the Miners are doing. Logan Lake Miners. That just kind of screams to me Saskatchewan farm kids, you know, like where I grew up. You know, even the logo kind of scares me. It's a miner with a guy holding a big piece of lumber or something. I don't know what, but so we'll see what they bring.
Yeah,
Vikes, they're taking a run at the Mariners for second place. Honestly, that's what we're gonna say, and I think they can do it. They're learning the ins and outs of this Mariners team. They're learning that they're pretty top heavy. Yeah. Can they make them pay in the season? Vikes going to try and finish in second place this season. That's my prediction. Over to you, Reese.
Yeah, I kind of have the same thing going on a little bit. I think it's going to be another difficult year for the Lakers. Again, this is a completely non-biased, non-information, talking from the hoop opinion here. There's nothing that I have to base this off of other than last year. And going off last year, I think the Lakers are going to be the 5th spot. I think they're going to have a hard go of it. But I think the Miners are going to be fighting for them for those last 2 positions. I think the Miners are going to introduce themselves into this league, not in a hot way. Again, this is coming from no information. I don't even know this team because they weren't in the league last year. But I feel like they're going to have a hard introduction against the Vikes, Mariners, and the Red Leafs. So, for the top 3, I think number 3 is going to be the Mariners. I think Vikes are going to be number 2, and I think SFU is going for that number 1. To be a little bit more in depth, I think the Vikes are going to pull a win out of the SFU game. And I think they're going to beat Mariners in their matchups. And I think that's what's going to give them that second place.
Nice.
Simple as that.
Any more predictions this year for the Vikes?
Yeah, I think Kirsten is going to be a stud. And I also think Dan Gattenby is going to lead all defensemen in points. That's
all right. All defensemen. Woo!
All defensemen, which is tough. That's a tough competition because there's a lot of good D in this league, especially for SFU. Yeah. But I think Gattenby's coming in hot this year. I think he wants to perform. He looked comfortable. And if they match him up with DeGo, he's got a puck mover who can skate like the wind right next to him. So that might be good. Or if they put him beside someone like Benger or put him beside a stay-at-home or like an Arbuckle, we'll see, right? So that'll be interesting to see. But yeah, that caps off my predictions.
Nice one, Reese. Yeah, Gattenby will put a little Blazers sticker on his helmet and just see, ever heard of the Blazers? And you just rip by them.
Oh yeah, exactly.
I think, I don't have any real predictions other than Dr. Strange. He's going to be a leader for the Vikes. We don't know if we don't know who's making the team out of the new players. But Dr. Strange going to be my unsung hero. I'm going to be rooting for him. Ryan Strange, lots of goals, lots of penalty killing, laying under the radar, jumping up, scoring some big goals, maybe even pushing the veterans for scoring leader for the Vikes.
Wow. All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, this has been In the Corners. We rounded up everything that went on last weekend in the BCIHL, and with a obviously heightened focus on the Vikes. And we got to ask you guys a couple questions. If you guys are tuning in at this point, what are your predictions? Comment them. Do you think that the Vikes are going to go with Kirsten? Are they going to go with Pilon? Are they going to go with Drapeau? Are they going to go with who? Who are they going to go for? Right. So any of your predictions, throw them in the comments. That's all it's going to be. Predictions, speculation. That's all we have time for right now. Right. Because we're not looking at the regular season yet. But once we come back in a week from today, we're going to have a tons of intellect on, the Mariners, SFU, Lakers. And we're going to try to get someone who attended those games or at least watched them to give their opinion, because we want to get really in depth. I mean, we went in depth, but we want in depth where they were there. Right. So
love it. Yeah. One more thing from Reese, from me, Reese, before we go. September 30th in Canada, National Truth and Reconciliation Day. Right. Yes. So we want to acknowledge that Indigenous people here before Canada was even here.
Yes.
And they are still here, giving us, showing us the way on a lot of issues to make the world a better place. We're very thankful to be here where we are, getting to talk hockey. Yeah. And we want justice for everybody who's around us, always.
Justice for everybody. More access to all resources that are needed on the reservations. There was a promise made in 2019 that all reservations in Canada would have clean drinking water, and only I think over 200 have been. There's a lot more than 200 reservations here in Canada. So let's hope. Here's to, on this Truth and Reconciliation Day, here's to all the political parties working harder to help, our most protected and our most cared for group here in Canada, because they are the nation. They are, where we live, and they gave us everything that we're looking at right now. So, let's hope for improvement from the governments, and let's hope for improvement for the Vikes.
Yeah. Let's
go into the season.
We'll look forward to the next show, buddy. We'll get in the corners. We'll break it down.
Yes, sir. All right. Thank you everyone for tuning in, and we will see you next time. Take it easy.